Let us see what are the objectives of SHM methods. Structural phenomena such as corrosion, cracking, delamination, settlement effects should be inspected and investigated. The second objective should be time strategy such as continuous monitoring, periodic or triggered monitoring, should be advised based on the nature of defect, damage and type of the structure. The third objective should be condition of the phenomenon, whether it is local or global, should be observed. Load effects caused on the structures should be also reported. And finally, the evaluation method should include cause of failure and consequences of its failure. With respect to degree of severity should be reported, and this should cover problems related to material degradation, load data, etc. For example, let us consider deck of a bridge. Let us say this is a 2-lane traffic bridge which is also supported by columns and piers, and that is the deck slab. These are column, this is what we call as column capital, and so on. What would be the parameters which will be observed on this bridge in terms of health monitoring? The parameters could be vibration of the deck slab, excessive deformation of the deck, formation of cracks or measurement of crack widths, if we have got a reinforcement, corrosion of rebar in the deck slab, settlement of foundation. So, about 5 to 6 parameters can be a focal item of health monitoring of a traffic bridge, as you see in this slide. Long term, and triggered monitoring. Let us see each one of them separately in detail. What do we understand by short term monitoring? This can be used if the state of structure to be examined only at specific point of time. I can give an example. If you are looking for a road or a railway bridge, then monitoring is required only when there is a heavy traffic. Short term monitoring can also be done if visual inspection shows a damage definitely. So, in such cases short term monitoring is carried out to validate and collect more details about the damage. Most of the sensors used in short term monitoring robust and unable to sustain long periodic observations. Due to this reason, sensors are used in short term monitoring only for a specific period of time. They are generally used in on off mode. It is interesting to know that several short term monitoring if repeated at periodic intervals can be a substitute to periodic or long term monitoring. Long term monitoring when the period of monitoring is very large, this is termed as long term monitoring. As stated by Mufti et al. 2006, Mufti A. Oshima T, Bakht B, Muhammad A and Muhammadin AA, Muhammadin MA 2006 stated this in a paper. Structural health of monumental structures, proceedings of European workshop, on SHM, Paris, France, which has an ISBN number of the publication. So, according to the researchers, long term monitoring is carried out over the entire life of the structure. There are specific conditions under which long term monitoring is done. Firstly, if changes in loading are slow, such as gradual change in temperature, then one should go for long term monitoring. In order to predict effect of natural hazards on the structural systems, one should go for natural long term monitoring. For example, we want to find the effects of earthquakes, floods, hurricane, etc., then one should monitor the health of the structure over a continuous period of time. The third could be a triggered monitoring. This is done when the data collecting is initiated by a specific event. Or when a parameter exceeds a preset threshold value. In triggered monitoring, sampling interval depends on the dynamic nature of the studied or examined phenomenon. A typical example could be monitoring the vibration when train passes a railway bridge. That is a typical example of application of a triggered monitoring. Graphically, this can be expressed like this. Say this is my time scale, this is expression of continuous monitoring, where I essentially do a long term monitoring of a parameter. Can also do a periodic monitoring. If this is my time scale, I monitor the parameter at constant intervals of time over a large period of time. This is what I call frequent periodic monitoring. Alternatively, on a time scale, whenever the event is triggered, I keep on measuring the parameter. Here the interval may not be equal, so monitoring is triggered when the parameter exceeds threshold value. So, friends, in this lecture we learnt some of the glossary of terms in structural health monitoring related to some types of monitoring and terminology used in this monitoring. We also learnt something about short term, long term, periodic and triggered monitoring. We also understood that why structural health monitoring is necessary for aging structures and so on. In the next lecture, we will try to continue with the types of monitoring methods and type of SHM in detail. Thank you very much.